Welcome to the Fit for Halter podcast. We're here to bring practical content and community to the amateur halter exhibitor. I'm your host, Amy Zabel, and I interview people from across the halter horse industry. We'll learn new techniques, hear about the hottest products, and get to know one another. If you grow in your knowledge and we gain more exhibitors in the ring, this has been a success. It's a laid-back environment. Prepare to be inspired and maybe take some notes. Welcome to the Fit for Halter podcast. In this episode, I wanted to take an opportunity to highlight the DIY division or the do-it-yourself division and what it takes to get to this level. So in this episode, I'm excited to introduce to you Chris Perniciaro, who recently won the DIY Weanling Fillies at the Breeders Halter Futurity last week. He won this class with Ecredible, who is by Ecredible and out of an Execute mare. So Chris, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Chris Perniciaro. Me and my wife Laura have been showing horses for over 35, 40 years, close to them, because we started when we were both young kids. We met at a horse show. We've had riders in the past, but for the last 15 to 20 years, we've been doing the halter. We've been lucky enough to have a world champion and a Congress champion in the past. We particularly enjoy showing at the futurities for the opportunity to win some monies. I'm a regional director for the WCHA, a national director for AQHA for Michigan, and I'm currently the vice president for the Michigan Quarter Horse Association, and I also run the Michigan Breeders Futurity.
Awesome. Thank you for all of that. Not only the information, but the ways in which you serve the horse industry. That's awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've told us a little bit about some of the involvement that you've had. Can you go a little deeper into your horse background and specifically how you got started in the halter?
Well, me and my wife, we got married and her dad kind of retired out of the halter horses. We sold our riders and all of a sudden he had a baby in the spring, two of them. So we kind of learned on our own a little bit with the halter, and luckily enough, this is a long time. I'm pretty close to Tom Robertson. We live about 20 minutes away. So I started taking horses to him and always picking his brains and following him around the horse shows. And all of a sudden, me and my wife really liked the halter. And then we started doing the babies at home for the futurities and stuff. And we usually have one or two a year, and we sell one, keep one to show, and we really love it. It's a lot of fun. It's something we do together. We enjoy it. It's all our vacations, and we like traveling with the horses. So it's really a good time for us.
One of my previous guests called it a showcation.
Yep.
Because you don't take any vacations when you have horses. You just go to shows.
That is correct.
So can you tell us what it means to be a DIYer?
To me, it's really enjoyment. I love working with the babies. I like going to the barn every day. I just retired from Ford for 31 years. So now every morning I'm in the barn at 7:30 in the morning. My baby probably doesn't like me as much for it because I spend a lot of time with her, and it's really enjoyable for me. And I really like it.
So are there any specific requirements as far as showing in the DIY class or division?
Well, yeah. So for the DIY, you have to do everything yourself. No trainers, no nothing. So we work our babies, we sweat them. We still have an old rider. So all during the baby years, he's our pony horse. And that 3 or 4 months before we do a lot of lunging and stuff, we pony. And we call him the big rolling turd, but he's a great guy. He puts up with the babies, and he goes along with them. So
that's
he's
great.
A great horse.
That's awesome. So was this your first time showing at the BHF or Breeders Halter Futurity?
No, it's actually my second.
Okay.
We were reserved with a stud colt we had a couple of years ago. So,
okay. All right. So for somebody who might not know about the BHF, can you explain how you were able to show this horse? Like, it requires nomination. The stallion has to be nominated, those kinds of things. Can you tell us a little bit about that and the process?
Yep. So for that, the stud has to be nominated. Obviously, the stud owners put him in the program. Long as he's in the BHF, either the open or the amateur, he is eligible for the DIY. So long as it doesn't matter which one he's in, but he'll be eligible for it. The stud owner doesn't have to pay him up in the DIY. It's all part of the BHF. It's a great program for the amateurs that they really support. And it really is becoming an amateur horse show because they really push the amateurs to show in the open as well. And in my class, Kalina Weekly, she won the amateur and the open. So
that's great.
Which is really nice seeing an amateur do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So kind of in that same line of thinking, did you show in any other classes than the DIY?
Yes. I showed in the amateur and I was third, and then I showed in the open and I was third with her. She's a really great filly, strong on her legs. So she can handle the multiple classes.
That's great. So thinking about the DIY class itself, the class that you won, what was going through your mind when you realized that you won?
You always get nervous as they count them down on the wall when they're the third or fourth place, and you always look and okay, there's only 3 or 4 left, so I'm still there, and it gets pretty exciting. It always does. It's really, your heart starts beating a little faster and you get excited.
I get goosebumps just hearing you talk about it. So any specific strategies that you have or techniques that you use that you think specifically contributed to your success, either this time around or previously?
Well, so some of the success is just watching some of the trainers a lot, just learning from them, see how they prepare their horses at the horse show, and ask them what they do different at their farms. Do you pony them the same way you do at the horse show with the golf cart, or do they lunge them more? And I kind of copy a lot of the guys just to see what they're doing. And like I said, I believe in ponying my babies. It's easier on their legs. Even, some of the people say, oh, lunging's bad on them. Well, for the halter horse, we only lunge them for 10 minutes. I mean, a 10 to 15 minute workout isn't that hard on their legs, which is so.
Okay.
And we always wrap their legs, protect them. You don't want them to have splints or anything, or so.
Yeah. Okay. In thinking about your filly in particular, tell us about her. What makes her special? Like, how did you decide to take her to the BHF maybe versus another horse that you had this year?
So I really think it's quality. We really like the mare. We bought it from Pools, and Anahorn, and mare is bred great. She's an execute and a Teeman, and then we bred a quality stud, I believe, in Ecredible. And she came out really good legged, pretty top line. She's got a really big hip. And she's, for once, she's NN with no P's, and she's got a lot of stuff to her. We're really happy with this filly. So, and my wife's excited. She wants to show her later in the year at the World Show and the Select and everything. So I think she's really well-minded. So I'm really happy with this filly.
That's great. When was she born?
End of January.
Okay.
1st of February, right around there. I can't remember. So
gotcha.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay. No big deal. I just was thinking, for context for some of our listeners who hear you talking about having such a good mind, and yet she's that young and she's out on the road showing. That's pretty cool.
Yep. She goes right down the road. No problem. Since she's the only horse, we're showing this year, it's great. I took one of the dividers out. She's got a big box stall. I leave her loose, and she laid down half the time on the way. So
that's great. That's good. Good for people to hear too, I think, as far as hauling a baby, making some accommodations for them so they can rest.
Yeah, it keeps their
So,
legs fresh and everything. So
yeah. And you had a long drive.
yeah, so we live in Michigan. It took us 8 hours to get to Iowa. And then
Okay.
after Iowa, we came down to Whitesboro and we're staying down here for a few days before the WCHA show.
Wow. And that's in Fort Worth, right?
Yep, correct.
Okay. All right. Shoo, girls on the road. And then what happens after that show? Do you have any plans?
Yep. So I'm gonna stay down here at a friend of mine, Al Schultz's. It's just gonna be because the World Show starts November 1st. So we only have 4 weeks in between instead of hauling her all the way back to Michigan and haul her all the way
Uh-huh.
back down. Al's gonna help me out. We're gonna take her down there, and then we're gonna see what happens at the World Show. So I'm gonna show her in the amateur, and my wife's gonna show her in the select.
Awesome. So, back to your filly a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit more specifically the preparation, training, or workouts that you do leading up to the show? Maybe since you shared a little bit about the fact that you use a pony horse, is there anything else that you do, whether it's grooming or clipping, to prepare your baby for the show?
Yeah, usually we just start with just currying them every day, going through, wrap their legs. I do sweat their necks just a little bit because it's only one horse. So I have a lot of time in the barn. I work her for 10 to 12 minutes. Sometimes I lunge her, sometimes I pony her, and now I'm using the golf cart down here. So she goes along really easy. Um, we rinse her, but this filly, I did actually have to body clip because I couldn't get her coat well enough. So it is okay to body clip the horses, especially the babies, because sometimes they're hard to get their hair coat right. And then I used rose oil to help with the color to get the hair back, and she looks pretty good. I was very happy the way she turned out and stuff.
How many days or so before the show did you body clip her?
Um, just only a couple days because I really was trying to get the hair coat good with currying, and
Mhm.
I was really hoping, but it was just only a couple days before the show. So,
Okay,
and
that's good to know.
looking back, I wish I'd have done it earlier, but it still looked
Mhm.
really good. So I was happy the way it turned out.
Okay. So, and this, you might have already answered this question. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced while you were preparing for the BHF? Maybe her coat was one of them, but anything else that you encountered while you were getting ready?
Just really her coat and the weather in Michigan. Before we body clipped her, we were sheeting every night, making sure she had a fan on. If it was never fails, the next day is 90 degrees. You're taking the sheets off, putting the fan on her, just all the stuff of getting babies ready. It's always a joy.
Oh my goodness. So, in looking back on, the entire process of getting this particular baby ready, maybe even looking farther back to selecting the stallion that the mare was bred to, what was the most rewarding part of the entire process from the preparation to your win?
Oh, there's no better feeling than walking out of the pen with a trophy. But I mean, don't be discouraged if you don't get one. I've been doing this a lot, and it took a long time to get here, and sometimes still we walk out of the pen with no trophy. So there's a lot of very good competition out there. There's a lot of amateurs that have been doing this for a long time, and everybody wants to win, and it's very competitive. So it's always nice when you get to walk out with a trophy.
Absolutely. So, what advice would you give to other amateurs who are looking to participate in similar events?
Uh, the best advice I'd give them is take your time with the horses, and don't be afraid. These trainers, like I mentioned, Tom lives right by me. Jason Smith is a very good trainer. Some of these guys that I talk to, they're very helpful, and they will. They're very helpful and they're very friendly. They will answer anything. because they want their business to strive too. So it's all, don't be afraid to talk to any of these people. Like we mentioned, you were lived pretty close to Chris Aronson in before the interview. Chris is a great guy. These people, they're very helpful, and they want their business to strive. So they want good horses out there, and they will help any way possible usually. So
it's good to know. That has been a theme in many of our episodes, is trainers offering to answer questions when people are curious about what they're doing or how they can help. So I think that's community-wide, halter industry-wide willingness to help. So thanks for that. Okay, so putting the spotlight back on your filly again, what are your future plans for her once you guys finish up at the World Show in November?
So after that, we're just going to take her home, and she's going to become a horse. She's going to get probably till the 1st of February off. She's just going to relax, go out during the day, come in at night, and just let her be. Let her get fresh again, and it'll be good for her. I think they need it after that break. It's a lot for the horses.
When will you start up again, whether it's grooming, handling, working? When does that start up for you again next year?
So it'll start up right in February, around the 1st of February.
Okay.
We'll do that. And just, we'll start exercising her slow, putting some weight back on her, because I'll take a little weight off her too. That way it's better for her legs. And
sure. Absolutely.
So, yeah, we had a horse before that we did all the major futurities in the Congress in the world, and he was tired at the end and he was shot. So I believe it's a good thing to get him a break and let him become a horse again, get their legs strong, get their mind right.
Okay. And then the show season next year for this filly, is there a particular goal that you have in mind for her?
We'll show her, see how she develops. You know, you always want to go to the big ones. Sometimes they develop right, they can handle it. You know, sometimes they don't, but we always like to go to the Congress. It's still one of our favorite shows, and we love the World Show too. And I think since this filly is also a double because she's by Execute, so we could do the WCHA and the Paint World stuff. So it's an option to see. We'll see how she develops and go from there.
Gotcha. All right. Well, just as a kind of a closing thought for our guests or our listeners, what's a memorable story or kind of one of your favorite memories from this journey, from start to finish, or finish for this particular show, I guess?
Probably just getting to win the DIY. It was pretty awesome. It was great. We were really excited, and it's always, you know, we love having a homegrown baby. So it's always a big thrill for me and my wife. So,
all right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're kind of in between places and in between shows, and I really appreciate your very fast yes to being on the podcast and sharing with our guests. So, I keep calling our folks our guests, but sharing with our community and our listeners. So thank you, Chris. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It was a lot of fun to do this. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Hey, if you're an amateur or a professional willing to share your story or bring content that helps us with our halter horses, you can email me at fitforhalter@gmail.com.